Hold tight, everybody. If you're out there, hold tight. We're going to kick this thing off in about 8 minutes, so just stay tuned. We'll be right to you.
They're just silent.
Just hold tight if you're out there. We're fixing to get live here in about 6 minutes.
We can't hear you.
Hold tight, everybody. Hold tight. Everybody hold tight. Everybody hold tight. We're here. We're live. And here's the deal. One of the things we'd go ahead and encourage you guys on, go and like, share, and subscribe if you live in Newton County. For the love of God and all that is holy, please go like, share, and subscribe. Matter of fact, share it, share it, share it. Get everybody in Newton County. It's time to wake them up. Listen, I know your neighbors. I know your relatives. I know they all go to bed around 6:30, 7 o'clock. After they get done watching the nightly news, they want to hear what's going to be said tonight. This has been an interview that's been in the making for about, August, September, October. Me and you talked about the first part of August,
Yes.
about some of the things that's going on. We're not live yet on KJAS, but here's the deal. Take a second. I know all of you guys like to post those butterfly that could messages and stuff like that on Facebook. For the love of God, go and share this to everybody that you know on your social media, on Facebook. You're going to want to know this. You're going to want to know this information. We've been sitting down for about the last hour hashing all this stuff out. And as a Newton County citizen, I'm doing the best I can with trying to get this out. But I'm asking you guys because for some reason or another, we've been flagged again. I'm not sure why Facebook has flagged us and keeps flagging us, but we've been flagged again. So if you want this word out, you're going to have to get this word out. So get over there, share this thing, and let's go from there. We got about 3 or 4 minutes here before we kick off on KJAS, but don't lose hope. Get out there and get this thing shared because this is super imperative for the health of Newton County. The budget's moving forward, the budget that was just adopted, and the whole 9 yards. So we've got a lot of things that's going to be going on, going to be talked about tonight. But the other side of it is we're going to also open this floor up probably around 7:30 for call-ins. So we're not looking for some crazy call-ins. We're just looking for people who are interested to ask questions. So if you've got folks out there who like to ask questions, tell them to listen. We may answer the question in the first 30 minutes. So, but be sure to go over on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're at and share this. Call your people. Get them on to listen to this because I'm telling you, what's going on in Newton County, if it's not criminal on a certain level, I'm not sitting in KJAS studios right now. And so, having said that, we got 2 minutes. We're going to take a moment to have a quick moment of silence before we jump on here. And but yeah, get on the phone, shoot texts out, get everybody listening at 107.3 FM, or shoot that link over to them on YouTube because this is fixing to get real. Who is to blame? I don't know. We fix to get to the bottom of it, though. All right, hold tight and bear with us. We'll be with you in a second. I just made a statement about it being criminal. Let me just say this. If either one of us was doing this out here, we would probably get put in jail somewhere. Okay? It appears as though there's been major issues. There's major issues in Newton County. So get on the horn with your people. Tell them to tune in. I'm still blown away about this 85%.
The school district, same way.
Top heavy.
Top heavy. 85% of the tax levy is salary and
Wages. Yeah.
And it wasn't too bad till they gave, I think it's almost 14% raise in added up together in consecutive years. So
right.
that added $1 million.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle up. Little Joe Walsh for your listening pleasure.
Instead of Rocky Mountain way, it'll be Newton County way.
You are listening to Not on the Payroll right here at KJAS 107.3 FM. Man, how are you guys doing out there in the listening area? Got a very, very interesting show for you, and to be honest with you, I would just say that you need to buckle up because, let me just put it like this. I'm not sure if somebody ought to be in jail or not over in Newton County, but there's a lot of problems going on, okay? A lot of issues going on over there. We have sitting down with us today, we have the Newton County Judge-elect, Ronnie Cochran, sitting down with us. And to be honest with you, here's the thing. We've been kind of debriefing over the last hour, I would say, about an hour,
yes,
about what all's going on. And this interview right here is 3 months in the making. And me and you've talked on the phone a couple of times. There were some things that you were wanting to see done or things that you were hoping people would make the right choice on and do.
Yes.
And those things haven't been done. And now we move forward with what would we call this? The emperor has no clothes,
Yes.
or maybe the county has no money. We'll go that.
The county has no money.
There you go. So here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a few minutes out there in the listening area. I want you to call everybody you know in Newton County. Okay. If you haven't talked to them in 3 or 4 years, if you hadn't talked to them in a decade, get on the phone with them, tell them to turn on the radio or go over to YouTube, look us up, Not on the Payroll. You can find our little mascot. He's the ape with the red headphones. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything, but it made you think. Go find the ape with the red headphones. You can go over to YouTube, check us out there, check us out at Facebook, check us out at Rumble. Okay. This is going to be going to be a loaded interview, okay? A loaded conversation here because I have a full page here of notes and the whole 9 yards, all right? But one of the things that I'm going to point out right off the bat, see, because I don't know if one of my ancestors was a wizard or something along those lines, but somehow or another wizard genes came down to me, okay? I'm somehow a wizard. We're going to state a lot of dilemmas, but I am going to predict, I'm going to make a prediction, that there is one situation that we're going to talk about that's going to piss everybody in Newton County off more than anything that we talk about. I'm going to make a prediction. Matter of fact, you're watching me.
Yes.
I'm going to circle it right there. I'm going to circle it. Now,
okay.
He just saw it, okay? He just saw it. Now, what we're going to do is this. Right now, it's about 3 after 7. I'm going to tell you about our sponsors. We appreciate our sponsors. If it wasn't for our sponsors, we would not be able to bring this kind of show to you. Now, you know that back in June, I found Jesus, okay? I got saved, and I have made a valiant effort over the past months to try to move forward and not try to just talk about, just constantly bringing a negative energy, negative vibe. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the deal. You can turn on the news and get all the negative you want. So I want information that's going to help people open eyes and that type of thing. See, I want to feed people. I want to heal the blind, heal the broken, and I want to heal the blind eyes. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yes.
Or at least that's where I'm at. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Take a moment. Listen to me. I am not BSing with you right now. Take a moment. Call everybody you know in Newton County. You've got a few minutes here because I'm going to talk to you about my sponsors right now. The sponsors for this show, and like I say, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a show. Stuart Glass, they've been with us from the beginning, First and Second Amendment all the way. Craig, Vicky, Sammy, those folks, man, they are good people. They're hardworking, and they will treat you right when it comes to your auto glass, your home glass, your office glass, any kind of glass you need. Talk to them first. Why do you talk to them first? Well, because they're the best in the game. In the glass game, there's no other name in this area like Stuart Glass. You need to touch base with them. Lake Area Pawn, we appreciate those guys. If you are looking to do some pawn shopping, Lake Area Pawn is the place to go. They've got all kind of instruments. They've got weapons. They've got guns. They've got ammunition. If you can't find ammunition, somebody the other day told me, said, I can't find any ammunition. I said, go up to Lake Area Pawn. I just bought a couple of boxes of that specific caliber. Go get your ammo up there. They've got all kinds of things up there. And if you are looking to make it to the end of the month and you need to sell some of your stuff, don't go steal nobody's stuff, but you need to sell your stuff. Go out there. I know how some of you rednecks do out there. You start looking around and it's like, hey, man, they hadn't touched that bicycle in a few days. I'm going to go carry that down. Don't steal people's stuff and take it down there to the pawn shop. All right. Lake Area Pawn, we appreciate them. Hollis Tire. Hollis Tire. If you're in the tire game and you're looking for Cooper, Nitto, if you're looking for Toyo, I don't know what kind of tires you run. I don't know what kind of rims you run. I don't know if you're having front end or back end issues. Well, guess what? If you're having front end or back end issues, they can hook it up too. Hollis Tire is the tire, just like Stuart Glass. They're the ones. If anybody says anybody else in this town, they haven't been over to Hollis Tire. Go check out Hollis Tire. Two Bros Wealth and Legacy Solution. I've talked about this before. Two Bros Wealth and Legacy Solution. My man down there, Gary Danar, is hooking folks up. What does that mean? He is teaching people how to get out there and create a legacy by building wealth. I'll be honest with you. There are a lot of people out here in Southeast Texas who are broke as a joke because they have been following mama and daddy's rules on how to get through life. And honestly, if you want to build a strong legacy to leave behind to your kids, you need to have wealth. We can all squint our eyes and we can all imagine that Uncle so-and-so and Grandpa so-and-so were good people and they gave me a good heart and a good work ethic. But at the end of the day, if they die broke, there's a high percentage that you're going to die broke too. And it's way better to hand off some money to your kids to let them start out and do better than you did. That's the whole objective that we have as men. And as families, we should want our kids to do better than we was able to do in this life. So here's what I'll say. Get down there to Two Bros, talk to my man Gary Danar. He's going to hook it up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, we're going to take our time with this conversation, and we're going to dig into this. Matter of fact, I remember my dad used to preach, and I used to hate it. I hate to see him take off that watch. You know why? Because time was not an issue to him.
Time was not an issue.
He was trying to get to a point. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to take off the watch, and we're going to get to the point. So this has been a conversation me and you have kind of been bumped around. We initially talked about this back in August, and it was looking like the current judge and commissioner's court were kind of playing badminton with whether or not they were going to accept the current situation of the budget for next year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to catch everybody up as the context of our conversation. You stated to me back in August, if they don't do what they should do, then your first phone call was going to be to call me.
Yes.
And we was going to have this sit-down conversation.
Yes.
So the fact that we're just sitting here face-to-face tells me maybe they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yes. You know, we had, the county was basically $2.2 million deficit in the general funds. We needed to make some deep cuts in the budget to make a balanced budget and to be able to keep the county
afloat,
you know, for 2023 and beyond.
Okay.
So basically the cuts didn't get made.
Okay. So the cuts didn't get made, which basically let's back up a little bit. Tax revenue that comes into the county. What's the overall amount? Was it like 7-8 million, something like that?
A little over $7 million.
Okay, so that's the money that comes from taxes, and that's the money that is broken up across the county.
Yes.
To be able to perform all of the different duties of the county.
Yes.
Okay, and that's from the offices at the county courthouse to appraisal districts.
Appraisal districts, paying the light bills.
Light bills, a whole 9 yards. The machine.
Yes.
Of the county. Okay. Plus, so out of that, you've also got payroll that comes out of that number for everybody who works in the county, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, because for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of have to have it dumbed down so that I can kind of slowly pick up the entire context of what's being said. So, what you're telling me is they had a $2 million deficit?
$2.2 million deficit.
Okay.
In the general funds.
And that was looking into 2023?
Yes.
Okay. So looking into 2023, they already knew they were $2.2 million behind the ball.
Yes.
So what should the current, what should Judge Weeks and the commissioners have done? What should they have done?
Basically, we should have, they should have trimmed, the budget, as far as whatever it took to basically balance the budget.
Okay.
What they actually did was just defund certain services.
Okay.
It's, right now the county's running close to 85% of the tax levy is going for salary and wages.
Salary and wages, not electricity and plumbing,
Not
or,
electricity,
or the
just
water and all
84% of the tax levy is going for salary, wages, insurance, salary and benefits.
Okay, so let's go back to when you were running. Okay, you kept saying that the county's broke, the county's broke,
Yes.
the county's broke, and from what listen, I'm not good with math, but at $2.2 million looking into the next year, fiscal year, that sounds like a huge problem.
It's a huge problem. We have, the county has money in road and bridge, just the commissioner's funds, commissioner special, road and bridge, but the general fund is what operates Newton County.
Okay.
It pays the light bills, it pays the salary and wages, it pays the people.
So the general fund is the biggest bulk.
Yes.
Okay.
For the last couple of years, they've adopted deficit budgets and, did not make the cuts that were needed to bring it in this balance.
Bring it flush. Okay.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then how has the county been able to operate?
Basically, there was the funds that were in the general funds, grant funds and stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, our savings account, even though we've been running a deficit on the budget, they've been pulling money out of the general funds to operate the county. Well, now the general funds is basically, today I was told that, we had around a little over $300,000 in the general funds. Okay.
And that's to get through October, November, and December.
Yes, we still have payroll for October, November, December. We have a payment that's got to go back to the state for, some grant funds that weren't utilized correctly.
Okay. All right. Let's stop right there. State funds that was not utilized correctly. Now, who is that going to go to? That's TDM?
TDM, which Texas Department of Emergency Management, which handles the FEMA money, federal money for the state of Texas.
Okay. So has the county been using grant monies to float the general fund?
Basically what has happened, the state has audited up to 2016. Okay, and
so we still got 6 more years they've got to
yes,
audit.
we still got time. There's more that they've got.
More problems.
Yes. So, grants that did not get funded. Say like, flood buyouts. If something was wrong with the title, or it didn't get funded.
Okay.
Instead of the money going back to the state, it actually sat in the general funds.
So the county just hung on to that money.
Yes.
Instead of sending it back to the state. Once there was some sort of issues or something like that.
Once there was some sort of issue, it didn't go back to the state or into a separate fund. It just stayed in general funds. So
then at that point, that money, if people, do you think people knew that?
I don't think they actually knew when the current administration come in. I don't think they actually knew that the money that was in the funds didn't belong to the county. But the money was there. Hey, we've got it. Let's go for it.
So what did they go for? Trucks and
a lot of new equipment, trucks. All throughout the county, you see the new equipment.
Yeah.
Which is the debt services. Instead of coming out of road and bridge funds, it's actually being paid out of the general funds, to where that's been just depleting the general funds.
So it's still wow. Okay. So we've got 300, just easy numbers. We got 300,000.
Let me back up.
Okay.
Just this year, from the last quarter of 2021 we've got a payment due in December of $222,000. We paid almost $1 million back to the state, the TDM, for grants up to 2016.
For unused grants.
Yes.
Or grants that was used.
That wasn't
grant
used
money that was
appropriately.
used that was not used appropriately.
Yes, and we cannot get an answer on. Some of it was unfunded. Some of it was we don't know.
Mismanagement.
We're not sure. We just can't get an answer from the appropriate people on why we're having to pay it back.
Okay, so would that be TDM or would that be the treasurer?
That would be
The treasurer would know, right?
I don't know if it'd be the treasurer or the grants department. That she was the auditor. Now she's on the grants department. Doing the grant. So I'm not sure exactly. What has happened with the money.
Okay. All right. So you got roughly $300,000 to finish out the year.
Yes.
You got $222,000 that you got to pay out to TDM.
Yes.
You've got $200,000 that you got to pay out to who?
Cottonwood Energy.
Okay. Listen up, guys. Listen up. Cottonwood Energy got their appraisal. They fought and went to court over their appraisal. They won the verdict.
Yes, they won the suit.
They won the suit.
They sued the appraisal district, which encompasses every taxing entity in Newton County.
Okay.
Which, the fire districts, the schools, everything. The county.
So they sued them and
yes.
won. They sued the county and won.
Yes.
And the counties had to pay them how much?
It's installments, and I believe it was.
They're paying them installments. Listen to this, guys. The county is in such financial shape that they're having to pay back on an installment plan to Cottonwood Energy.
Yes.
And that number is $200,000 for this year.
Yes.
So they basically pay them a couple $100,000 a year?
Yes.
Is that kind of the
And I
the
think
deal?
we have a couple more years left on. I think it was a little over $2 million.
A little over $2 million that they won the suit on.
Yes, the county had to pay back.
There's a bunch of people out there who's jumping up and down about these appraisals. Find you a lawyer and sue somebody, especially if you're in Newton County. Well, I mean, I wouldn't sue them in Newton County because, to be honest with you, you may not get the money.
Well, I will say this about the appraisal district. The state audits
Sure.
the appraisal district
Yeah.
every 6 months. They send forensic auditors in,
Yeah.
and they'll pick 350.
Kind of a block.
But they'll just pick
Yeah.
random 350.
Right.
Okay, they have to. The state auditor or appraiser goes out and appraises. The county has to be plus or minus 5%
Right.
of what the state appraises.
Right.
Or they lose money for the school district.
Right.
And our appraisal district has done a really good job. They have a really high score with the state. So
Okay.
they are in line with the state
And still got sued.
and still got sued.
Still got sued and still been paying.
Yes.
So, but here's the troubling part. So we got $300,000 left to get through the end of the year. Okay, and this is still under the old regime, we'll say.
Yes.
Was still under the old management. Okay, regime has a warlord type of context, but the old management. Okay, and once again, I went to Bunis, so my math is not great, but we're basically 122 in the hole.
Yes, but
Staring down the barrel at the end of the year.
we got a bailout.
Okay, what's the bailout?
The bailout is from the American Rescue Plan Act, which is basically
Now that's
federal,
ARPA.
ARPA, federal COVID relief money.
Okay.
Where they gave every citizen of the county, $200.
Okay.
So, and it amounts to like $2.6 million.
$2.6 million.
Yes.
Okay, what is that? Because here's the concern: is that just a given federal money, or is that a grant?
It's basically federal money to be used for COVID relief. As far as the counties, they've got a grants manager hired.
Okay.
That's giving them advice on, well, they're saying that the county can use it for claim lost revenue and use the entire $2.6 million, basically to pay bills.
Which is actually which is kind of a lie, because it's not lost revenue.
It's not lost revenue, but
due to COVID.
But that's what we're claiming it as. The county auditor has.
That's what the current administration is claiming it as.
Yes. Now the county auditor has we can't spend this money on
just anything. We can't throw that $2.6 million in the general fund.
Yes. So,
and to declare it as a loss of revenue is a complete lie. Because if you look at, all you have to do is just look at the last decade of budgets, right?
Yes.
So that's troubling.
Yes, my biggest fear is, the federal government's going to come back. This was not spent on COVID relief, so instead of, we've got to pay the whole amount back that Newton County doesn't have.
Right, obviously, because we're already 122.
Yeah, we're already deep in the hole.
It almost seems like we need some county folks to be getting out on the street corners and having some fundraisers. Yes. It seems like. Okay, it's a lot of information, but that's only half of where we're going with this deal.
Yes.
Okay, so we were talking right before we started about the 85% of the county's tax levy.
Yes.
Is basically top heavy. It's administration and it's salaries.
Salary and wages and benefits.
Salaries, wages, and benefits. Okay.
Okay. 13%. Well, the other 15% runs the entire county as far as pays the bills, fixes the roads, whatever, county functions are.
Right.
2% is pulled out, it's allotted by the federal government for indigent care.
Okay.
So 2% of your budget has to go to...
It's earmarked for indigent care.
Indigent care. Whatever your budget is, 2% of that is paying for indigent care.
So the rest of it, so the 85% is for salary, wages, and benefits.
Yes.
Salaries, wages, and benefits. Okay. All right. So let's see here. When you take office in January, because they adopted the budget.
Yes.
And in adopting that budget, because they didn't balance the budget, right? Well, or they say they balanced it.
On paper, they've got a balanced budget. But in balancing the budget, they defunded a lot of programs that we're going to have to bring back.
Okay, so let's just talk about that for a second. What did they defund?
The biggest thing they defunded.
So instead of cutting employees,
yes,
which nobody wants to have to cut any employees, especially especially county employees. Most people who go to work for the county retire from the county.
Yes,
that type of thing. So instead of approaching this from a downsizing standpoint, from a bodies, people out on the boots on the ground type of thing, they cut services.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they defunded them.
They defunded.
They haven't cut them yet, but
if you don't have any funding,
come 2023, solid waste being a big one.
Solid waste. Now, define what solid waste means.
Solid waste is the dumps, the people that work at the dumps, the equipment to haul the garbage to the landfill. They cut the total budget for solid waste for Newton County.
Now, the rumor was that the county was going to farm it out.
Yes, I know they did have Pineywood Sanitation come look at it, but there was no decision made. I think the county's long and you've got the city of Newton with garbage service. And there would be breaks in services, for Pineywood. So I don't think it's attractive for them. From what I've heard, you've got a dump in Deweyville, you've got a dump in Old Salem, Newton, Von Burkeville, Weirgate area, and up at the lake.
Okay.
So
So basically, now does this mean the guys who come and pick up my trash are going to be out of sorts?
No. Now
where they're taking it. is defunded.
Well, if you have trash service,
Mm-hmm.
if you're paying trash service,
Right.
that will still continue.
Okay.
But if you do not have trash service and you rely on taking your garbage to a county dump,
Which we all do
then
in one way, shape, or form. You go to the dump.
that's going to be that's defunded.
Okay.
So there is no money in the 2023 budget to operate the county landfills.
What else?
They defunded emergency management.
Okay, we're in the middle of hurricane season,
Yes.
and they defunded emergency management for next year.
Yes.
Okay, so just to get this right, who are all of the commissioners?
We have
Mr. White.
Philip White is Commissioner of Precinct 2.
Okay.
Gary Fomby is Precinct 3.
Okay.
Gene Thompson is Precinct 4, which is in Deweyville.
Okay.
And Danny Benson is Precinct 1. They're in Trout Creek area.
And then Kenneth Weeks is county judge.
Yes.
Okay. So
Now, I will say on this budget that was adopted, Commissioner White and Commissioner Fomby voted no on the budget,
voted not to
adopt this
adopt the
budget.
budget.
Now, you had Commissioner Benson, Commissioner Thompson, and
Thompson's already lost, so he's
already
lame duck.
lost. He's outgoing. You have Leonard Bubba Powell coming in Precinct 4.
Okay.
It was a 2-2 vote with Kenneth Weeks casting the
tiebreaker.
Yes, and they adopted this budget.
So they cut emergency management,
Cut floodplain
administration. Now, what does that do?
All right, now
Now, I mean, obviously Newton County is familiar with flooding.
yes, the floodplain by federal government, to qualify for federal flood insurance, the county has to have a floodplain administrator. So by defunding that, I'm not sure about eligibility for the federal flood insurance anymore.
Okay. So if they take that position out, then
Yes.
the chances of losing federal funding on flooding
Yes,
goes out the window.
Goes out the window.
Okay.
They defunded the grants department, which they're saying, well, we're not going to have any grants, so you don't need a grants department. But
Wait, we've been living off of grants in Newton County.
yes, we've been living off grants.
And
We've been
having to
living
pay them
off
up.
grant funds.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like you need to get a better grant writer to me, or at least one that's held accountable.
yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you just heard all that. This budget that was just adopted by Danny Benson and the outgoing commissioner, what was his name again?
Gene Thompson.
Gene Thompson. And then Judge Weeks was the tiebreaker. Gary Fomby voted against this. And Philip White voted against this. And Kenneth Weeks was the tiebreaker and went with adopting the budget. Now, here's what's interesting. Solid waste, defunded. Emergency management, defunded. The grants department, defunded. Floodplains administrator, defunded. All four of those defunded.
And that was to adopt what they're calling a balanced budget for 2023.
For 2023. I'll be honest, I think that there is, you hear rumor out here. You hear rumor of corruption. You hear rumor of issues in communities and counties and stuff like that. It really didn't get under my craw, I guess you might say, all of this stuff, until I heard, and I come from an oil field background, you come from an oil field background.
Yes.
Until I heard that there is an IT person who is in Newton County. Now, you already said 85% of the monies paid out of the general fund, or 85% of the tax levy, is actually going towards salaries, benefits, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Newton County has an IT person who is not a full-time person. Now, I want everybody to know this. I've met the gentleman. He seems kind. Seems like a kind fella. Okay? Got no extra grind with him. I do not care who is holding the position of IT in any community. Okay? I'm just going to be real honest. I don't care. What I want is, like everybody else, whenever we go to sign on the Wi-Fi, we want to be able to connect, right?
Yes.
Okay. He's making three times what the IT guy is making here in Jasper County, what the IT person is making down in Hardin County. At least from what I understand, down in Hardin County as well, there was a comparison there. He's making $168,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen, in Newton County. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you've been over to Newton County or not. It's not the most technologically advanced place in the world. Okay? But here's where the trouble starts. Now, why am I picking on the IT guy? Well, because he's not just the IT guy. He's also the husband of the DA, who makes money off of the county, and rightfully so. She's a DA, right?
But, you know, in her defense, the county is only paying like $3,500 a year toward her salary.
Paying roughly $40,000 a year.
Yes.
Not an exorbitant amount to do what she's doing. Okay.
Well, you know, that may be the $3,400 may be all, not a year. That's the amount the county pay, you know, just $3,400. Her salary, yes, her salary is paid by the state.
Okay. All right. So we'll just say $3,400.
Yes.
Okay. The county's just cutting a check for $3,400, and that goes to her. Okay. Here's the deal, guys. To me, I'm sitting here going, okay, there's a problem here. There's a problem here. How much do the commissioners make? Just guesstimate.
I'd say $52,000.
$52,000.
Yes.
That's 4 commissioners.
Yes.
How much the judge make?
You know, I'm not really sure, but I think it's.
Well, you got to know that, man. You fixing to be the guy.
I know, but it's like 65.
Okay.
I'm not really 100% sure on the salary.
So to say that you took this position or you ran for this position, it wasn't about money.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here's the issue. Something's going on here. Why would there be now? This is not a full-time position, correct?
And he is contract, but he does work full time.
He is contract, but he does work full-time.
Yes. He's not an employee of the county. He's a contractor for the county.
Who's accessible on a full-time basis.
Yes.
Okay. The district attorney is in need of a 2,600 square foot new facility because everybody's having to be moved out.
Yes, and that's another thing. Everybody's got to move out of the courthouse due to some of the construction materials they used in the old brick shell of what was left of the courthouse when it burnt.
Right.
They put conduit in the, scored into the walls, put conduit, and I guess they used some kind of water-based
some kind of
something
epoxy or something?
Some kind of epoxy to, cover the
okay.
wall up, and then that has rusted all the
conduit.
So
really,
basically, you bust in there and there's rusted conduit and bare wire sticking out of it. Well, not bare, the wire still had the coating on them, but we have to. Then there's
so that's all historical.
Yes,
that's a historical facility, right?
There's water coming in. We've got some mold issues in some of the offices.
So basically, you're going to have to move everybody out of new locations.
And there's no money in the budget for next year to
do that.
To move everybody out. We're just going to have to get, we do have a facility. We have a new sub-courthouse in Deweyville. If we have to, we could put some people in. But, it was done before. There's offices around
the square.
Around the square that we could lease and put people in. But like I say, there's no money in the budget for that right now.
No money in the budget to be able to make this transition.
Yes.
Here's what I found interesting. I saw this on the internet, and sometimes when you watch something on the internet, it actually is true sometimes. I mean, especially if you're watching the video of it. I thought it was interesting that the district attorney who handles all of the contracts for the county was actually presenting the contract for her husband's company to Commissioner's Court here the other day. Once again, I'm not, my last name is Sharp, but I'm not that bright. It seems to be a conflict of interest.
And, I missed that meeting. I was not at it.
I just found it. I found it a complete conflict of interest.
A lot of people are saying that it is a conflict of interest. It's something that
needs to be addressed, right?
They're going to have to address one way or another for the people to have peace about it.
Well, I think this. At the end of the day, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, or if it comes along holding a contract for a duck and they're married to the duck, I'm sitting here going, come on, man. This is not rocket science. This is just, but I think it just speaks to this, I won't say good old boy or this good old boy way that we all get accused of here. This stuff wouldn't, I say it wouldn't go on in big cities, but it goes on in big cities.
It goes on.
It goes on everywhere. But now you got a county that's broke 7 ways to Sunday, and with that's before we start talking about the $13 million grant that they got for the bug out shelter.
Yes.
They're fixing it, ladies and gentlemen out there in Newton County. What in the hell do we need a 20,000 square foot bug out shelter for out at the airport? Somebody's going out there and using that money to buy up timberland and go. And hey, listen, once again, what are we smelling here? I'm not sure.
Well, basically
$13 million.
$13 million, from what I've been told, is Emergency Operations Center.
But they just defunded the emergency management.
I know.
Somebody is on dope, is what it is. Somebody's smoking weed.
Facilities for the food bank. We had, they put in for a bond issue for a new jail. $12 million.
Right.
What happened with the jail? If we had and that's going to be a big priority of mine is trying to get a jail built. If we had a 60-bed jail, the current sheriff said that the county could bring in $400,000 a year just on a 60-bed jail. Bringing in other inmates from other counties.
Right.
If we had an 80 or 100-bed jail, we could double that.
Right.
Well, I just seen where Harris County, signed a $25 million contract with a facility in Post, Texas, to house 600 of their overflow, Harris County jail inmates.
Yeah.
So there's a need out there for some of that. If we could get a facility,
up and running.
As far as the Emergency Operations Center, here's my thought on that. Instead of building an emergency operations shelter, why can't, I don't know what the grant funds, if it can be switched, why can't we build a jail or even, go out to the old prison? We had the phase one that was actually built at first as a standalone jail.
Right.
And then you had the additions to make it a prison. Why can't we look at that and spend money to put a jail there and use the current jail that we have as an emergency operations center? It's right there at the courthouse.
Well, it's not like we don't have some background with using grant monies in misdirection.
Yes.
It doesn't make
and defunding the grants department, and then
you just cut off everything.
And then we're getting a $13 million grant for this emergency operations center. So
but to me, what's the population of Newton County?
Newton County is a little over 12,000.
A little over 12,000. Okay.
Most
of it's on that south end, right?
Since the hurricanes, and the flood buyouts, the population of Newton County is dropping a little.
Yeah. So 12,000 people.
Yes, a little over 12,000.
Now we're going to have a 20,000 square foot building with a. It doesn't make any sense if you can't balance your budget.
Yes, and
I mean, it's kind of like going to get a $100,000 credit card when you can't pay your car note.
The school's got a bond issue
Right now.
coming up in November. Okay, and I was told part of their gym is going to be classified as built as a shelter. If the kids need the shelter in place, but Newton County wants to be a pass-through county. We have taken in refugees before,
Sure.
but it ended up costing
It was
ton of
crazy.
money. It was crazy as far as the law enforcement presence.
Absolutely.
They had to stay on them.
Yeah.
And it was just.
I remember
nightmare.
after Hurricane Katrina, they used the old
That's what I'm talking
the
about.
Baptist encampment. Man, we
house.
went out there. We were taking food and stuff out there. Man, it was a zoo.
Yes.
And we're sitting there looking around for the sheriff's department out there, and there's like 3 guys, and I'm going, we're all going to die.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't. We made it out of there.
Newton County wants to be a pass-through county.
I'm all about pass-through. I mean, let's run them up to Sabine.
There's no facility. There's no facilities to hold them in Newton.
And there's no reason to put them there anyway.
We don't have the infrastructure or the funds needed to support.
Right.
That
was super apparent after Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
It was super apparent. Now, some people are going to jump on me for jumping on this IT situation and this DA situation. And I want to listen. I am not in any way saying that a man can't make $168,000 working in IT. What I'm saying is a man shouldn't be making, or a woman shouldn't be making $168,000 a year working in IT in Newton County. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's my point.
My plan is to, once we can, I plan on making that a full-time position,
non-contract basis.
Non-contract, full-time position with insurance and benefits, insurance and retirement, because that's on everybody's mind, that salary.
Well, here's what's crazy. How many people associated with solid waste, emergency management, grants department, and the floodplains administrator, how much money was saved there?
Well, $400,000 for solid waste.
$400,000 for solid waste.
Okay, you figure right at $100,000 for emergency management.
All right, let me do my math here. $400,000 for solid waste, $100,000 for emergency management.
You got another $100,000 for
the grants department. $100,000.
And it's give
and
or
this
take.
is ballparking.
Yeah,
this is
give or
ballparking.
take.
Don't hold us to this. We're just brainstorming here.
Okay, and then
Flood administrator.
Flood administrator is about between the salary, you're looking at probably $50,000 a year.
$50,000.
Close to 50.
So my point is this: if we're sitting here just doing round numbers, that's $650. Am I right on that?
Yes.
That's $650,000. The judge is making less than 70, and the IT guy's making 168. What planet does that seem to be right on? It doesn't seem to be right for me, especially whenever you got a broke ass. I'm here. I go. I'm acting like I'm just on here when you got this broke county, man. I mean, so okay, we've talked about the negative. We've talked about all of the negative that's going on. What is this? Why is this forcing your hand?
Well, it's forcing my hand. Come January, we're going to have some emergency budget amendments.
In January.
To be able to, next year we won't have the $2.5 million or more of COVID relief money to keep the county running. Basically the county was, at the end of September, did not have the money for payroll to, pay the insurance,
At the end of last year.
This year.
This year. Okay.
This year we were completely,
up against it.
Up against it. So we got the COVID relief money, the ARPA money. So basically, that was a great bailout.
Potentially. Bailout for now, maybe pay back later.
Maybe pay back later, but that's keeping the county afloat. Well, come next September, the county's going to be in the same financial shape because, we still have to keep solid waste going. We're still going to have to fund emergency management. Lord forbid we have another hurricane, Rita or whatever, hit Newton County.
Well, and another one of the cutbacks that I'd heard is that, they decided to cut some funding for the new incoming commissioner, Mr. Leonard Powell.
Yeah, well, they did cut his. That was something that was cut. His truck allowance was cut out of the budget.
Yeah, because he don't need a truck.
No, he don't need to.
You don't need to drive around, check out things. And
he can sit in his office and wave at people out the window.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And as far as like, that
is insanity. That little piece. Sometimes you see these moments where character is shown.
Yes, and as far as the the judge's office, the travel allowance. To
your travel allowance.
My travel allowance.
So the guy leaving, Kenneth Weeks, leaving.
Cut the travel allowance for the judge's office and the cell phone allowance, which, the cell phone allowance is not, it's
right.
not a whole bunch.
But this is principle.
It's just
everybody in county governments had these very things.
Now, when they had the budget cuts last year, they cut everybody's cell phone except a certain few, sheriff departments, of course,
sure,
the deputies need.
Understandable.
And the judge got up in court and fought for his cell phone allowance.
Okay.
But
but he didn't fight for yours.
He didn't fight for.
He voted quick.
Yeah.
Now tell me where the judge is right now.
The judge is at a conference.
Now the judge who is actually not going to be judged next year.
He is at a conference at the Hyatt.
Hyatt. Like resort spa.
Resort and spa. I think it's in Cedar Hills or Cedar Springs, Texas, at a
judges convention.
The Texas Association of Counties Conference.
Interesting.
So,
but next year you ain't gonna have a cell phone. You already have a jacked up budget. So let me ask you this, because
they're having a surplus equipment sale come November.
Oh yeah. We need to tell everybody.
Selling some of the county's surplus equipment. They've actually got some of the solid waste equipment in this surplus sale. So if we're going to if we figure out how to keep the dumps open, I may have to get some county people, some of my friends to go bid on this equipment so we could use them at the dumps.
Or better yet, I got an idea, ladies and gentlemen. If you're out there and you're listening, don't go bid. Don't go bid. Make the county take them back, so we'll have them in January.
Well, and then, the county they've listed lots of their surplus property for sale.
The county has.
The county has, through a real estate agent here in Jasper. So it's went through court. We're basically having a fire sale. Let's gather what fund. I don't know.
They're trying to raise funds.
They're trying to raise funds. So they're selling excess surplus county property.
Wow. So okay, are you glad you run? Or you ran rather?
Sometimes I have my doubts, but
I guess so.
But somebody has to do it.
Sure.
It has to be done for. My kids are still going to be in Newton County in 20, 30 years.
Right.
And hopefully I can make a change to where there's still a Newton County for my kids to be living in if they choose to live there.
It seems to me that we might need to enlist the help of maybe a Dave Ramsey or somebody along these lines.
Hey, and I just want people to know, come January when we have to make these cuts, it's all going to be blamed on.
On you.
It's all going to be blamed on me. But, hey,
they've kicked the ball, or they kicked the can down the road, so you would have to deal with it.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
I'm just saying, if you see me on the courthouse square cutting grass, don't judge me. We're going to do what it takes to keep the county running and afloat. And if it takes me having to get out and, cut grass, that's what we're going to do.
I am blown away by some of this, because honest to God, if as my grandmother used to say, if us poor folk was out here doing this, we'd be under the jail.
Yes.
The misappropriation, the moving around of funds and all this stuff. And here's what's interesting about it. What happens if the county don't pay back some of those grants?
We lose all funding from the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we'll be in a worse spot.
And we're only at 2016.
Yes.
There's still 6 more years,
Yes.
which is going to be a clear indication of how Mr. Weeks and his administration led during their 4 years, right? Wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
Once they have some sort of audit or whatever.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, man, oh man, I don't know. I love Newton County. I love it. I live there. We bought a house there. And it is really kind of an odd thing to think about the county being in this shape. It's kind of spooky in a way to know that the way you've limped along for the last X amount of years has been through grant monies that was just moved around. And I can't say misappropriated, but I can say this. If you didn't use it like the grant specified, then you got to pay it back.
Yes.
So basically, we've been kicking the can down the road for a while.
Yes.
Now, before Judge Weeks, who was the judge?
Okay, we had
Now, Judge Weeks only been in there 4 years.
we had Paul Price for 4 years.
Okay, so if we go back, what is that math? 2018.
Well, in 2018, the county still had $2.2 million roll over in the general fund.
But was that money's from an old grant?
A lot of that money was probably grant money that was sitting in the general funds that shouldn't have been in there. So
the truth is, we could have been broke for years
yes.
and not known it because we was all floating on these grants.
Yes. We could have been adopting deficit budgets, for
Decades.
decades.
Ladies and gentlemen, come January when the cuts start, don't think it was this guy, because it looks like when they say the emperor has no clothes, the emperor has no clothes. And in Newton County, not only does he not have any clothes, he ain't got no cash on him either. So it's a rough situation. So it's going to have to get tight and restricting for a period of time.
Yes.
Before it's going to be prosperous and moving forward and growing.
Once it's going to be a rough first year or two, but it may take more than a year to get us out of this hole. But and I run as a fiscal conservative, and I don't believe in spending all of our money.
Right.
So and it's going to hurt for a little bit, but we've got to get it back to where
it's budget.
It's budgeted, and we have a cushion to where if we have a hurricane, if we have a Laura or we have a Rita, the county has funds to rely on until FEMA steps in and helps us out.
So, but at this point, you've got to go in and you've got to reestablish the emergency management.
Yes.
You've got to reestablish the solid waste. Okay.
And then as far as emergency management, I would probably try to handle that duty, because the county judge is the emergency manager in small county. So, and that's just going to
be part of your job description.
Part of my job description. It's that's what we're going to have to do for a while.
Gotcha.
We're going to do whatever it takes to bring the county back into financial shape. So,
because we've been basically floating all these years.
Yes, we're going from I would say a champagne budget to a natty light budget.
Natty light. That's what I'm talking about. So, if anybody wants to check themselves,
yes, if they want to verify the numbers that. They can go to the county treasurer's office, they can go to the county auditor's office, or they can call them and they can verify that, the numbers that I have said as far as being
Right.
deficit or
Right.
the exact funds,
You ain't making it up.
I'm not making it up. They can verify the numbers that are actually there. And it's, the auditor has, basically been screaming for the last year or so, hey, we've got to stop spending.
Now, who is the auditor over there?
The auditor is Sherry Moore, and she's from your hometown, Buna. Hey, but she is actually pretty good with numbers.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. It's in wrapping this whole thing up. If you're out there and you're hearing what's being said, challenge it, man. Challenge it. Don't get mad at us. I mean, everybody wants to get mad at the messengers, but at the end of the day, we're all kind of going to be responsible for this over time.
And I encourage every citizen of the county, hey, find out when the Commissioner's Court meeting is.
Go
to the Commissioner's Court. Be involved in your county government. Make your voice heard.
Yeah.
Don't rely on somebody to do it for you. Be there, be aware, and be active.
I think it's very relevant for people in Newton County to remember this. Danny Benson voted for this budget. He's on the south end of the county down there toward Deweyville, right?
Well, no, he's in Precinct 1, which is Bleakwood, Trout Creek area.
Bleakwood. Danny Benson voted for this. The other fella?
Gene Thompson.
Gene Thompson.
In the south of the county.
And he's already going out. Bubba Powell actually, it's Bubba, right?
Yes, Leonard Bubba Powell.
Leonard Bubba Powell. Okay, so Bubba Powell beat him in this most recent election and will be coming in January, correct?
Yes.
With you. There's also a write-in for Philip White's spot. Philip White's running again. But here's the deal. Both of those commissioners voted for this budget. And then you've got Judge Weeks voted for the tiebreaker. To me, somebody needs to be held accountable. To me, somebody needs to be held accountable face-to-face on some of this stuff. I would encourage you, just like the Newton County Judge-elect Ronnie Cochran just encouraged you, get in front of them. Get in front of them. Hold them accountable to what they are doing. Hold them accountable to what they're doing.
And the next 4 years, I would hope to see, when we have a Commissioner's Court meeting, I would hope to see a full courtroom of people being involved.
Absolutely.
You'd
rather that.
That's what we need to do to take back our government and to, make everybody understand to do what's right.
Absolutely. Newton County Judge-elect, ladies and gentlemen, we've been sitting down with Ronnie Cochran, and you have been listening to Not on the Payroll right here at KJAS 107.3 FM. Check us out at Facebook. Check us out at YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. We're also on Rumble. We love you guys. Have a great night.